I am here at FANATICS Fest on Saturday, late morning, early afternoon, with the one and only Evan Roberts of WFAN fame and many other things, including Rico Brony podcast. Evan, I'm going to start with a question to you. You just interviewed Mets manager Carlos Mendoza. I realized as I was watching the interview that me and Carlos have something in common. Do you want to know what it is?
What do you and Mendy have in common?
We both have managed the Mets to the same number of wins in the last week.
Fair point. Touché, sir. By the way, they've also won the same amount of games in that time span as the Knicks have. So it all comes full circle, doesn't it?
Okay, as a sports fan, do you think if you were a Knicks fan, I know I'm asking you to go out.
Oh, I can do it. Go ahead.
Okay. You would have rather been in the situation I'm in right now as a Knicks fan with the season ending the way it did, or having made it to the finals and getting swept by the Thunder in 4 games?
I always want to go as far as possible. That is always my feeling. It doesn't mean I won't have pain or disgust or anger that I'll think about for the rest of my life, but I always want to go as far as I can. Like even last year when you guys got knocked out in that 7th game in Indiana, I know you would have had no shot against Boston, but what I'd argue with Knicks fans was, give me that shot.
Yeah.
Just give me that opportunity.
I wanted the shot.
Of course. Who wouldn't? So same thing with this.
Only devil's advocate. I can talk myself into after that Indiana series, game 1 goes differently, this, that, the other thing, we're in the finals. If they got their doors blown off by OKC, it would have been the reality check like, oh, we're actually that much further away. That's the only thing I will say, but I agree with you. Okay, we are coming up on, we're a week away from the 1-year anniversary of the Mikal trade. Is that it?
Yeah. Mets Yankees that night too. It was a full night of fun.
It's okay. If Leon Rose calls, who's Sean Marks still running your team?
Still has the
job. God bless him.
Job for life, ladies and gentlemen.
Apparently. So Leon Rose calls him tomorrow. Hey, let's do it. Let's do a do-over. Sean Marks' response is what? What is his counteroffer? That's
I think he has the same response as every other team owner has had over the last week about, can we hire your coach? I think it's usually F off, I think is what I've heard.
Listen, we're getting a lot of people paid. Don't laugh at that.
Good job by the Knicks. I actually have no issue with them doing that, by the way. I think Sean would give you a hearty Australian chuckle, and then he would hang up. I was very angry when that deal went down, but now with a clear head, it makes complete sense. They needed to blow it up, and they've blown it up. And look, it sort of helped you guys. Mikal made some big plays defensively in the Boston series, so there you go.
I find it interesting having watched him for a year. Like, I actually want to ask you, is there stuff that you, after seeing him for a year and a half, you have seen now Knicks fans' reaction after watching him for a year, and you're like, oh, now you get it as far as this or that? Or do you think it was just a different situation?
Oh, I think he actually played worse. And that's what really surprised
me. For the Knicks.
Yeah, because I watched him as a Net, and I knew by the end he clearly wasn't the franchise guy. Yeah. Like, I had a hope he would be Jalen Brunson, like, give him the keys to a franchise.
You never know.
No, and early on, I literally thought it. He played so well right after that trade was made. And I thought, obviously different kind of player, but I thought, hey, that's the guy we're going to build around. Yeah. Obviously, as a year went by, I realized you can't build around him. But there were a few things I noticed about him in his time with the Knicks that was not the case with the Nets. He was afraid of contact the way he was with your team that he was with my team. I didn't notice that. And I don't know if it's the wear and tear on his body, if it's the amount of minutes and games he's played. That changed. Him not fighting through screens. Bro, he didn't do that with our team. So I do think there was a lot of differences with the Knicks than it was with the Nets. It's tough to explain. Again, the wear and tear could be the answer. But he wasn't the same guy with you that he was with my team. He was a little worse.
I've gone back and forth about thinking, was it the partnership with Cat on the defensive end, which is obviously still going to be there to a certain extent, although we'll see if they play Cat at the 4 more next year under a different coach, or was it something in the water between him and Tibbs? And that's where I keep going back to. If you're Leon Rose, do you think Leon Rose should have done maybe a little bit more homework? Like, hey, we know the Nova connection. But like playing for this psychopath, and I love Tom Thibodeau, so I could say that, that's not for everybody. Do you think Leon Rose dropped the ball to any extent in acquiring and giving up what he gave up for Bridges in the first place?
Look, I think that you always know a coach is replaceable. So even a year ago, they kind of knew
that's fair.
Tom Thibodeau may not be long for this world. I mean, it's been revealed that he was almost fired numerous times already.
Yeah.
So I don't think you should overthink that or that's a mistake necessarily because you know if it doesn't work, I'd rather have the valuable player than the valuable coach, which I still think most people – do you not feel that way?
Oh, no, absolutely. And I think – Mikal Bridges still has, again, I'm not looking to trade him tomorrow. Right. I do think he still has a fair bit of value
100%
around the league because I think other people look at the situation. It didn't go great.
If it's a mistake, I don't know if that's the right word. The question is, were you going to hold on to all those assets for someone who is better? And here's the truth. Giannis hasn't been traded.
No.
Giannis probably won't be traded. Maybe you disagree with the probably. So we don't even know if that fantasy would even become a reality for us to freak out and say, well, they should have saved those picks. They could have gotten Giannis. Giannis isn't available right now. And are you really holding it another year? Jalen's a year older for a fictitious player that hasn't even been available?
I think the rationale was sound in that you had this team that was greater than the sum of the parts.
Yeah.
And here you're getting a guy in Bridges that profiled as if you're gonna keep that ethos, he fits right in.
I thought he did,
and he did to a certain extent,
to
a degree, and that's why I am excited to see what year 2 brings. As frustrating as it was. Speaking of frustrations, from the outside looking in, when you heard Knicks fans talk about this year, this 51-win year, conference finals for the first time in 25 years, and you heard their frustrations, were you like, you whiny bunch of ungrateful ingrates, or did you kind of get where they were coming from?
Oh, no, I get it.
You get it, okay.
I'm not that far removed. No, it feels
You're not that far removed.
Well,
that's a good comp.
Yeah.
That's I hadn't made that connection in my head.
But I learned something from my experience. So I couldn't enjoy the Nets regular seasons because I was always thinking about the bigger picture and winning a championship. And I realized after it was over, I really should have enjoyed the regular season. And so I said it a lot on the radio as you guys were winning 50 plus games, and there were frustrations along the way. I would lecture Knicks fans and say, you really should enjoy this. Like, this is special. I get you have flaws. I get you're not perfect. I agree. And those flaws ended up being the thing that did you in. Yeah. But I do believe you should enjoy regular seasons because I learned it the hard way. Because now, give me 50 plus wins with a lot of flaws. Give me that. So I understood the frustrations, but I think we all need to learn that we have to cherish good regular seasons and actually enjoy them and not always say, well, we're not beating good teams. This sucks. No, dude, wins are wins, man.
I skirted the middle because I enjoyed a lot of Knicks fans. I think looked at some of those wins and they didn't even care because it's not against Boston. It's good. I enjoyed the wins. I will admit that there were a lot of losses that felt like 2 or 3 losses in one because you're thinking ahead constantly.
But you know what? And I think this postseason should have made you feel better about this. And I remember saying this, getting crap from Knicks fans. You would lose these games to Boston or Oklahoma City, and I'd remind you, it doesn't mean anything. Like, it really doesn't. And guess what happened in the postseason? You beat the Celtics.
You did.
So I was right.
You weren't wrong. No, you weren't wrong.
The good news is, for next year, don't get too giddy, because I listen to you guys. Don't get too giddy when you get one of those wins, but also...
Why do I get giddy? I giddy-free podcast. He's the giddy one.
Can I do an imitation of you? After a win. Because I love Knicks content. I really do.
You do.
I love you. I love CP. I love digesting you guys. That sounds weird, but you know what I mean. This is you after a win.
Come on, do it.
Well, boy. Okay. All right, all right. And then you go. So, by the way, that's you and that's cool. And I do that sometimes as well, but way too giddy after wins.
Fair.
So next year, here's the lesson. Don't get too depressed.
It's a good lesson.
But don't also get too giddy, because at the end of the day, enjoy it, but it doesn't mean that much.
No, you're right.
Is that fair?
You have to be balanced. I want to talk a little bit about the Nets before I let you. Because they're an interesting team.
Oh, very.
Well, for one, they're the only team in the 30 teams in the league. There's one that has cap space. It's you guys. I'm just going to come out and ask you, what do you want to see them do with cap space?
I want them to absorb a bad contract, specifically Paul George, to move up.
Really?
In the draft. I want a young franchise player I can build around. I got to take Paul George's albatross, but I get to 3. Let's go. Are we kidding? I don't give a crap about his bad guy. I want a player I can dream about.
So
that's what I want.
That would be the perfect situation because Paul George is still – it's not Bradley Beal. You could see a situation in which a team trades for Paul George now and a year from now flips him for real value.
100%. Now, he does make
a lot of money.
A ton of money, so I'm not delusional to think it's that much value. But here's my point. I'm not trying to say like I'm in love with Paul George. I'm not.
Yeah.
I would use the cap space, not just for random draft picks of the future, but to move up and get a player that when I go to Barclays Center, I could at least fantasize about being my next star. I'm praying for the Ace Bailey fall.
Really? Oh, that was my next question.
For it, yes.
So Ace Bailey, if he's conducted a workout or if he hasn't canceled the workout, we don't know about it yet. All that stuff, the talent's not in question.
Yeah.
All that stuff does not concern you?
No.
Why?
I think he wants to go to a certain place. And
you think he wants to go to Brooklyn?
Do you know he's throwing out the first pitch of the Met game tomorrow night or Tuesday night or whatever night it is? Why is that happening?
Maybe a coincidence?
Listen, I know you guys don't want to accept this. I'm going to look in the camera when I say this. There are people that want to play in Brooklyn, like Kevin Durant did, like Kyrie Irving did, like Damian Lillard did. What?
Evan, 5 or 6 months before June 30th, 2019, I was as far as I know, I was the first major Knicks podcaster who was like, listen, why would he want to deal with all the headache? If he just wants to come live in New York, I said it and people would get mad at me. I had said it for months.
When I looked into the mic, I wasn't lecturing you.
I know.
I'm lecturing your brethren. I honestly, do I know if Ace Bailey wants Brooklyn? I don't know. I think he wants a certain spot, probably on the East Coast. And I would love, like that fall or trade up, because I do think eventually Sean would just have to get aggressive and say, you know what, let me jump to 5 or 6 or 4 or whatever it is. But I want that young, raw talent that I can fantasize about being our next superstar.
So next question, then I'll have one more after that. Cam Thomas, not the talent you're talking about?
I love Cam Thomas. He's got to stay on the floor, bro.
That's fair.
He's got to stay on the floor. And I know they got extra conservative last year with, hey, we're kind of tanking, we're not tanking, we are tanking. Yeah. When Cam plays, it's intoxicating. But I got to see him play more, dude. He played 25 games last year. What are we doing? I'd pay him, by the way. I would keep him. I want him here. And they don't, dude, they're negotiating against themselves. Nobody can pay him. So I want him back on a reasonable deal, and I want to see if he could actually go out and play 70 games.
When's the last time we've had a guy take the qualifying offer in the NBA, like a real guy? It's been a while, right?
Oh, yeah.
It doesn't happen that often.
Does not.
So I'm going to end with this. This is my theory on you mentioned Giannis before.
Yeah.
I think Giannis does not have any desire to spend the rest of his career in Milwaukee. I think he sees the writing on the wall. But I think he looked around the league this summer and said, I only want to play for these couple of teams. The Nets among them, the Knicks among them, probably the Heat. And he said, none of those teams right now have the package that my team will trade me for.
Right.
So I think he's going to call it a gap year in Milwaukee. And I think he's going to wait and see if can the Nets put themselves together over the next 12 months and make a real play for me, or the Knicks or the Heat get to a situation where they can trade for me. That's my theory. I think he wants to come to New York. And I don't think he cares which franchise he plays for.
I think that it feels that way. My gut feeling is he's going to retire a Milwaukee Buck.
Really do.
I think he's going to realize my legacy is more secured, even if I never win another title, with being the king of that town than coming here where if he doesn't win, he's a failure. If he doesn't win with your team, he's a failure. If he doesn't win in Miami, he's a failure. So
it's like the Dirk. Well, he's better than Dirk. He had 2 MVPs to 1 MVP, but a Dirk-esque career.
Yeah. And what's wrong with that?
No, Dirk's one of the 20 greatest players ever lived, arguably.
I think he knows. Dwight Howard said this on social media, and Dwight was right when Dwight said, don't leave. Because Dwight knows if he stayed in Orlando and didn't jump around the way he did, Magic fans would adore him. He'd be the guy who stayed his whole career there. He got us to win NBA Finals. Isn't that great? I think, guys, and I think Giannis is going to realize the grass isn't greener. Because, by the way, the odds of him winning a title elsewhere, you know the way things happen.
I mean,
it just won't happen.
I think we're entering an interesting time in the league where you have the OKC thing is already happening, and then the San Antonio thing is going to be happening very soon.
Yeah.
So I just don't know how, like, it seems wide open right now. Indiana's in the finals, the whole thing. I think Indiana's really good, but that's besides the point. I just don't know if that's going to remain.
I don't think it's the formula. Like, I don't think the formula is let's trade for a 31-year-old making a ridiculous amount of money. He's a great player and all, but I don't know, man. I don't think it's the right formula. I think he knows it. And if he stays in Milwaukee and maybe they get to one more NBA Finals and lose.
Not crazy.
Guys, he's a legend there.
You're right. No, that's very fair.
That's my prediction. Save the tape. We'll see if I'm right or you're right.
We'll do the same time next year. Evan Roberts, you're a legend. I tell you this every time. I don't know how you do what you do. Tell the fine folks what to look out for where you're concerned.
Well, thank you very much. I enjoy your work, especially when the Knicks lose. I enjoy it mostly when they lose. Evan and Tiki, 2 o'clock on the Fan. And if you want some Met talk, download Rico Bronya.
I can't believe still that Mendy sat with you. Amazing stuff.
It was fun.
Are they going to win tonight?
Probably not, but eventually they will win. Eventually they will get hot, and eventually they will turn this around.
I hope so, for your sake and your sake.
Thanks.